Assalamu alaikum. You already feel this deep desire for someone, a feeling that has taken over you, but what if what you feel is not what Allah wants for you? You may have wondered why, despite your best efforts, some things just don't seem to come to fruition. God knows you love this person, but this simple phrase hides a profound truth that we will explore together. Why does Allah, in His infinite wisdom, let us go through these emotional trials? And how can we find inner peace, even when our desires do not match His will? If you have ever been in this situation, or if you are looking to better understand God's plan in your relationships, this video is for you. Stay with us to discover answers that will transform your view of love, patience, and trust in Allah. Ijwa, the divine truth behind our desires. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where your emotions seem to take over? Where you deeply felt a desire, an attitude towards someone, but at some point, an inner voice told you that maybe this is not what God intended for you? It's like you're torn between your personal desires and the reality of what you know is God's plan. We've all experienced that moment when our feelings seem so intense, so powerful, that they lead us to believe that they are the truth, that they are what is right for us. But here it is essential to step back and remember a fundamental truth. Allah knows better than us what is truly good for us. He sees what we don't see. Our desires, our emotions, are only fragments of a greater reality that Allah is in complete control of. Human emotions, like attachment to a person, are natural. They are part of who we are as human beings. However, not everything we feel is necessarily what is meant for us. Sometimes this desire, no matter how strong it may be, may not match the plan Allah has prepared for us. And this, although difficult to accept, is a form of mercy. For what? Because God, in His infinite wisdom, knows the dangers that we cannot always perceive. He knows what can bring us peace and what could cause us pain. Imagine for a moment that Allah grants us everything we want immediately, without ever teaching us patience, without ever allowing us to grow. We would be lost, drowned in an ocean of uncontrolled desires. Divine wisdom lies in the fact that Allah has chosen to offer us what is best for us, when it will actually bring us good. This can be difficult to understand in the moment, especially when our emotions are intense. But over time, we emphasize to ourselves that what seemed to us to be an essential desire was only a test, a path to draw us closer to our Creator. This awareness is liberating. It allows us to detach ourselves from the weight of our immediate desires and place our trust in Allah. He alone knows the future. Only He knows why some things happen and why others don't. When we accept this principle, we begin to see every situation from a different perspective. Each rejection, each obstacle, becomes an opportunity for purification. This doesn't mean the pain goes away instantly, but it transforms the way we deal with emotions. We understand that everything has meaning in Allah's great plan. And instead of resisting, we learn to welcome each moment with serenity, because we know that what is meant for us is what is best for us, even if we cannot always see it immediately. It is in this acceptance of the divine that we find peace. When we let go and relinquish control, we discover true freedom, a freedom that does not depend on the fulfillment of our desires, but on our unwavering faith in Allah. 2. The test of patience and trust in Allah. Patience in times when our desires seem unfulfilled is one of the most difficult tests one can encounter in this life. Have you ever felt this emptiness, this inner dissatisfaction, this sort of incessant quest, as if something was escaping you? And although you know deep down that God has a plan for you, sometimes the wait can seem endless. But it is in these times of testing that your faith and your relationship with Allah are truly refined. Allah tests us in moments of intense desire, where our emotions push us to act hastily, to seek quick solutions. However, this is precisely where the opportunity lies to strengthen our trust in Him. He calls us to be patient, because patience is not just passive waiting, but a strength that allows us to stand firm in the face of uncertainty, remain calm, and act thoughtfully. Patience teaches us to accept that, even in the silence of waiting, Allah works in the invisible to bring us the best. It's often easy to get lost in the moment, to get carried away by the desire to see our desires come true right away. But Islam teaches us that true success lies in surrendering our personal wills to the divine plan. Patience then becomes a proof of our faith. Every moment of waiting, every moment you struggle with your impatience, becomes an opportunity to deepen your connection with Allah. When you are going through a period of frustration or unfulfilled desire, you are invited to remember that it is not only a test of the will, but a means by which Allah purifies your intentions, strengthens your character, and increases your reward. Allah tells us, "And we will certainly test you with something of fear, of hunger, of loss of goods, of lives and of fruits, and give good tidings to the sick." Surah Al-Baqarah 255. This ordeal is not a punishment, but a test of whether, in times of weakness, we choose to turn to Him and place our trust in His infinite wisdom. Imagine if everything you desire in life came true immediately. You might be fulfilled for a moment, but you miss the opportunity to grow, learn, and draw closer to your Creator. Allah's tests are not there to break us, but to uplift us. They force us to detach ourselves from the immediate satisfaction of our desires and to seek deeper meaning in each ordeal. Ultimately, it is these difficult times that shape our faith, build our resilience, and remind us that what we have in this world is only a temporary loan. But the key here is to know that in waiting, Allah never abandons you. Patience doesn't mean you have to stay inactive. It is a call to reflection, to prayer, to the search for tranquility in the acceptance of the divine plan. You may find yourself in a situation where everything seems difficult. But remember that the world around you, and even your own heart, is in the hands of Allah. There may be times when you wonder why this situation, this wait, continues. But remember that every moment in which you have placed your patience in the arms of Allah, every moment in which you have chosen to trust Him, is a step closer to a reward that you cannot even imagine yet. The wait may be long, the trials may be trying, but if you persevere with patience, Allah will give you what you deserve. Maybe not what you want now, but what you will actually need tomorrow. It is in waiting that the greatest blessings are found. For in waiting, Allah is preparing something better than you can perceive. 3. The role of intentions in love. One of the most powerful principles of Islam is purity of intention. When we feel love or affection for someone, the basic question that arises is, what is our intention? Is it a pure intention, aligned with the values of Allah, or is it a selfish desire, focused only on personal gratification? In Islam, we are constantly asked to evaluate our intentions. Before every act, whether large or small, we must ask ourselves whether what we are doing is in harmony with divine principles. Love is no exception to this rule. Whether you are in a romantic relationship, a family love, or a love for a friend, the intention behind that love plays a key role in whether it blesses or fails. Islam does not condemn love or attachment to another person. On the contrary, it encourages us to love those around us with sincerity and respect. But what differentiates love in Islam from worldly love is the intention behind the feeling. When we love someone, is it for their well-being and happiness? Or is it to meet our own emotional needs, sometimes selfishly? A pure intention in love is to love not only for oneself, but also for Allah. Love then becomes a means of getting closer to Allah and serving His purposes. For example, if you love someone, whether it is your husband, your wife, a friend, or even a relative, that love can be transformed into a source of rewards if you place them under the light of Allah. Every act of love towards this person becomes a virtuous action, an action that brings you closer to paradise, because it is done with the desire to please Allah. But what about relationships where the intention isn't as clear? Sometimes our feelings can lead us astray, and what starts out as pure love can turn into selfish desire, jealousy, or possessiveness. When the intention becomes unclear or focused only on personal satisfaction, we risk deviating from the right path and entering into practices prohibited in Islam. This kind of love is destructive, not only to the relationship, but also to our own soul. One of the biggest mistakes we can make is overlooking the importance of intention in our relationships. A relationship, whether friendly, romantic, or family, should not be based solely on emotions. Emotions are changeable and can be influenced by external factors. But intention comes from the heart and is the driving force that guides our actions. If this intention is pure, guided by the fear of Allah and the desire for good for others, it gives love a deep spiritual dimension. This means that before acting, before making a decision in a relationship, it is crucial to ask yourself the following question: is my intention pure? If your love is directed towards someone, do you want that person to grow in faith, to achieve spiritual well-being and happiness? Or are you only seeking to satisfy your own desires, without considering the consequences of your actions? Islam reminds us that any act, no matter how small, can be transformed into an act of devotion if the intention behind it is pure and well-directed. A simple conversation with your loved one can be a form of worship if it is filled with respect and sincere intention to strengthen the bonds to please Allah. This doesn't mean you have to bottle up your feelings or be devoid of human affection. On the contrary, Islam allows and values love, but it guides us towards a form of love which goes beyond selfishness, which goes beyond personal desires, and which is based on solid and lasting foundations. In every relationship, it is essential to keep in mind that love should be a path to Allah, a path to draw closer to Him and to serve His other creatures. When you realize this, you begin to see love in a new light. Love is no longer a simple ephemeral feeling, but an act of devotion that enriches your soul and that of the other. And in this journey, you will find not only inner peace, but also an enlightened path to true happiness and spiritual fulfillment. 4. Surrendering oneself to Allah, accepting what is best for us. When we feel a deep desire for someone or something, it is easy to get caught up in the intensity of our emotions and lose sight of a fundamental aspect of our faith, total surrender to the will of Allah. This notion of submission does not mean passively resigning ourselves to what happens, but rather understanding and accepting that what God has planned for us is much wiser and perfect than what we imagine. Sometimes we want something with all our heart, whether it's a relationship, a job, or any other personal desire. However, when these desires are not realized, deep frustration can emerge. It is important to understand that in these moments, submission to divine will is not an act of defeat, but an act of faith and trust. Allah, in His infinite wisdom, knows the aspects of our lives that we ignore. He sees our weaknesses, our real needs, and He knows exactly what is good for us at each stage of our lives. Accepting what is best for us does not mean that we must abandon our aspirations, but that we must recognize that our desires can sometimes be influenced by our limited human perceptions. Sometimes what we think is good for us, Allah says, is not what will bring us true peace. Surrendering oneself to Allah consists of saying, "O Allah, you know better than me what is good for me. I place my trust in you, because I know that what you have planned for me is greater than what I currently desire." This form of submission in no way diminishes our dignity or our desire to pursue our dreams. On the contrary, it strengthens our trust in Allah, helping us to let go and live with peace of mind. This active submission pushes us to make efforts while accepting that the results are not in our hands. It's a way to free yourself from the anxiety of control and uncertainty. It is not about being passive, but about understanding that after we have done our part, we must turn over the rest to the one who governs the universe. In Islam, every difficulty, every trial, and even every unfulfilled desire are opportunities to strengthen our faith. Trust in Allah is not about simply waiting for Him to give us what we want, but about accepting what He sends us, knowing that it is part of His perfect plan for us. It is crucial to understand that this plan is always geared toward what is best for us, even if we do not immediately see it. Another essential aspect of this surrender to Allah is patience. Patience, in Islam, is one of the most recommended virtues. It is the key to facing moments of doubt and frustration, when we find ourselves torn between our desire and the reality of what is given to us. Allah teaches us that the reward of patience is great. Every moment we face a trial without losing faith, every moment we renounce our will for the divine will, we draw closer to our Creator. Verily, Allah is with those who are patient. Surat Al-Baqarah 2:153. In those moments when you feel intense desire, when you are caught between your emotions and reality, remember that this ordeal is an opportunity to affirm your faith in Allah. Acceptance of His plan should not be seen as a weakness, but as an inner strength that allows you to grow spiritually. Letting go in total trust in Allah is what will open the doors to inner peace for you, allowing you to overcome every difficulty with grace and serenity. When we relinquish control and place our destiny in Allah's hands, we free ourselves from human expectations and temporary desires. We find true peace in acceptance, knowing that, whatever happens, Allah is the best in practice. 5. The ultimate reward, what we get beyond our desires. One of the deepest and most comforting aspects of our faith in Allah is the understanding that this world is only a passage, a temporary trial. Everything we desire here on earth, all the things we seek and hold dear, are ephemeral. However, by following Allah's way and trusting in His plan, we open the door to an eternal reward, far greater than anything we could have imagined or desired. The ultimate reward, what awaits us, is a central concept in Islam. It is said that those who are patient, who accept God's will, and who persevere in their trials will be rewarded in a way that neither eye has seen, nor ear has heard, nor has even entered the heart of man. It is in this context that our desires, however strong they may be, take on a new perspective. What we seek here on earth is often limited, while what God has prepared for us in the afterlife is immeasurable. When you face a challenge where your desires seem unfulfilled, it is essential to remember that the real reward does not lie in the immediate realization of our desires, but in patience, faith, and expectation of what Allah has in store for us. If a desire you deeply cherish doesn't come true in the way you hoped, it can be difficult to understand why. However, Allah tells us in the Quran, maybe you hate something when it's good for you, or maybe you love something when it's bad for you. Surah Al-Baqarah 2:16. This passage illustrates divine wisdom that is beyond our limited understanding. What we desire may not be what is actually good for us, And sometimes Allah spares us from trials and pains that we do not yet understand. Allah's reward is not only limited to the satisfaction of our earthly desires, but it also encompasses deep spiritual peace and tranquility. This tranquility comes from the certainty that whatever the outcome of our efforts in this world, Allah knows what is best for us and will reward us accordingly. True happiness in Islam is not found in material possessions or instant success, but in seeking contentment with what one has while remaining faithful to Allah. Indeed, when you go through a period where your desires seem unfulfilled, remember that this frustration can actually be a way for Allah to purify your heart and strengthen your faith. Every moment you resist giving in to your personal desires, every moment you choose patience and trust in Allah, is an act of worship. This brings you closer to the divine reward. And this reward is not limited to what you receive in this world, but also includes what awaits you in the afterlife. Suffering, waiting, trials are not punishments in Islam. They are the means by which Allah purifies us, prepares us for something greater, and grants us blessings we could never have imagined. The real reward is this inner peace, this certainty that everything that happens, whether good or difficult, is a step towards a greater good. Allah also reminds us that those who persevere in adversity enjoy an infinite reward, beyond what we can conceive here on earth. And the ultimate reward, the greatest of all, is entering paradise, where we will be surrounded by eternal beauty, peace, and tranquility. In paradise, every desire will be fulfilled in a perfect way. Every pain and suffering will be erased, and the closeness of Allah will be more precious than anything we could ever desire on earth. The key lies in patience, trust in Allah, and total submission to His will. When you place your faith in Him, your earthly desires become secondary. What matters is the eternal reward, life after death, where everything you endure to please Allah will be paid back in an infinite and perfect way. Remember that every moment of your life, every step of your journey, is an opportunity to get closer to this eternal reward. So even when you go through times when your desires seem unfulfilled, know that Allah is preparing something even greater for you. Keep your faith, keep your patience, and your reward will be infinite. So now that you have discovered the divine wisdom behind our desires and expectations, the question remains: are you ready to put your complete trust in Allah, to accept His plans, even when they seem difficult to understand? God knows you love this person, but can be the key to opening a path to deeper peace and a pure relationship with the Creator. If you like this video and would like to learn more about how to align your desires with God's will, subscribe, leave a comment, and share this message with those who need it. Remember, the best is always to come when we place our faith in Allah.